On April 4th, Senate Republicans voted to approve a budget resolution that included a number of concessions in an effort to make a budget resolution that more closely mirrored one coming out of the U.S. House of Representatives. And as part of that conversation during those debates, Medicaid and how much to cut Medicaid was still on the table. Now note, Medicaid has not yet been cut. These budget conversations are still continuing. But some key Republican senators were actually arguing to preserve Medicaid and to get rid of the language that would have allowed the U.S. House to cut up to $880 billion from the committee that oversees Medicaid. Senate Budget Committee Chair Lindsey Graham had introduced an amendment to keep in the instruction that the House should be cutting about $880 billion from the committee that oversees Medicaid. And Senator Josh Hawley, a Republican out of Missouri, found himself in the position of arguing to get rid of that language, to instead preserve Medicaid and its funding in the budget. He introduced his own amendment, but that amendment failed. But this back and forth in the budget over what to do with Medicaid will continue. Senators have said everything is on the table when it comes to cuts, and that could include changing the federal reimbursement rate for Medicaid, adding work requirements, pushing more of the cost to states. And if Medicaid reimbursement rates for Medicaid expansion states is cut, that puts Josh Hawley and Missouri in a really unique position. There are 3 states that have passed Medicaid expansion as part of a constitutional amendment, which means they have to do Medicaid expansion whether the feds provide the money or not. There are 37 other states that participate in Medicaid expansion, and if Medicaid cuts happen, they could stop funding their Medicaid expansion programs. And in fact, 9 states even have laws that require the state to stop Medicaid expansion or to make significant changes if the federal share of spending drops. South Dakota, Missouri, and Oklahoma are those 3 states that have constitutional amendments to expand Medicaid. They'll either need to amend their constitution or figure out how to fill the budget hole if Medicaid is cut out of the federal budget. So what's next? The House and Senate still have to come to an agreement over a budget resolution. The Republican senators from those 3 states with constitutional amendments could find themselves being an unlikely part of the fight against big cuts to Medicaid as this conversation continues. You can read more on the Senate budget resolution. We link to it in the description below.